Welcome back to the Backpage Lead Vidcast, and I've got Ashley Browne with me, the editor of the site. Ash, how are you?
Charlie, good to see you.
I don't want to sound like Eddie Maguire again, but it has been a big week in sport.
Rub the hand, Charlie. Oh.
But it's a Collingwood-free zone. That's the bad news for Eddie and Pie fans. Look, looking ahead to next week, the AFL 2011 draw is released. Ash, you've done a column for Backpage Lead today. Your wish list, if you like, and you want some Scott on Scott action. That means Chris Scott and Brad Scott facing each other for North and Geelong next year, at least once, and hopefully twice. Essendon against Geelong, the cuckold of Geelong is sort of shaping up as a good match-up too. I think that could develop into a great grudge match of the coming years, given what's happened in the last month. Tell us about the wish list and what else you'd like to see.
Well, Geelong features a bit as well. It's so much news around Geelong in the last 6-7 weeks. Obviously, we'll get Scott v Scott early, and we'll get the Neil Kearney cheesy halftime feature with their mum and their teachers, and how can you tell the difference, and walk down the street with pictures of both of them, cardboard cutouts and that sort of stuff. So that'll be something to look forward to. Geelong Essendon, it's a nasty streak. I mean, supposedly David Evans, the Essendon president, and Frank Costa, the outgoing Geelong president, have cleared the air. But these things you can't tell until the first game, until the first one actually play for points, whether there really has been a clearing of the air with those two. So we look forward to that. And obviously Gold Coast first game, they'll actually play two first home games. They'll play the first game in red shorts at the Gabba in round 2 because their ground at Carrara won't be completed. Then their proper first home game at Carrara sometime towards the end of May, which will be the big one. They've requested a high drawing Victorian team to be the visiting team, and there can be only two. There could either be Geelong with Gary Ablett reunion with his teammates, or perhaps Campbell Browne against his former Hawthorn teammates. I think either of those would make for really good viewing. So that'll happen in the draw. Friday night footy's always an interesting one. They try to reward the teams. They try to punt a bit, get Channel 7 and pick up the teams on the up, balance that up against the teams at rate. I mean, St Kilda gets on there a hell of a lot, but they're not a very attractive team to watch play on Friday night. So they grind it out with these sort of ugly 3-goal wins. The obvious temptation to have less Essendon. At one stage last year, we had 3 weeks in a row of Essendon, and they were, I think, struggled each time. But the James Hird magnetic factor will probably give them a fair go at it. So
how many times can a camera pan up into the coach's
Well, that's right. I'd like to see, but you'd like to see a bit more of North, you'd like to see a bit more of Melbourne, you'd like to see a bit more of Richmond, because they probably earned a chance for a bit more prime time based on their form this year. Not quite sure we'll get it, because it really is ratings driven and driven by the teams that are popular. The heaps of Collingwood, imagine heaps of Carlton as well, and a couple of cameos, I think, from the Hawks with Buddy Franklin, who tends to put on a bit of a show in these games. So that's always something to look forward to as well. So the draw comes out next week, and that's a very big off-season footy story.
One of many off-season footy stories of the AFL. It just seemed to be dominating the landscape like never before. We've got the Irish series coming up, of course, then the national draft, and we might get 6 footy-free weeks sort of over Christmas, and then we'll get into the pre-season training. Can I take you, Ashley, back to Chris Scott's appointment? A surprise to many, including us. He beat Ken Hinkley and Brenton Sanderson for the job, obviously. What traits, qualities did Geelong see in him that got him over the line?
Well, I think he's a very straight young man, very passionate. Went about his footy in a very hard way. I think they do need to make some hard calls at Geelong, and I think they felt perhaps an outside of the club is better placed to make those hard calls. I think the appointment suggests that they, despite of what they might have said about the premiership window, I think they might think the premiership window might be closed, albeit temporarily. I'd take great heed in the remarks. A couple of things that have happened. Mark Thompson saying after the Collingwood loss in the preliminary final that the playing group was either unable or unwilling to embrace a tinkered game plan.
Very telling. I agree with that.
And then Matthew Scarlett, who's probably one of the culprits of those, saying get Sando appointed, get him appointed quickly, which I think would have Brian Cook at Geelong, who controls these things, would look at and say, well, hang on, I think if we've got a culture problem at the club, then bring in a coach who's mates with the players is not going to fix that. So to get the guy from outside who no emotional attachment to Geelong, that worked for Mark Thompson 11 years ago. He was proved to be an outstanding choice. So I think it was a very sensible, and in hindsight, the very correct choice that Cat's made. I have no doubt he'll be a really good coach.
There was a sense, I think, the tail was wagging the dog down there a bit, and the fact Mark Thompson said that was terribly revealing. It tells you a bit about the playing group and what not being willing to take on something new, but also about the failure of the coaching group in a way to implement a strategic change to the game plan, which clearly needed to be made, and that is kicking more and handballing less.
Yeah, I think Scott will certainly sort that out. So I think that bears watching because the list is still very talented. How much of the game plan, Geelong's success revolves around Ablett sort of just controlling the middle and getting all those possessions and then taking opponents on or dishing off the handballs. Well, I guess we'll find that out in the first few weeks of next season.
Okay, let's switch tack quickly to the Ashes cricket. All the signs are not boding particularly well for Australia's chances, although I'd still be, if I was a punter of course, still be happy to outlay a few shekels on them because I think at home they might still be too strong. However, it is clear selectors have missed the chance last summer when we were playing inferior opposition to tinker with the middle order and to blood some new players, and we've missed the boats really. We missed the boat for Marcus North and Michael Hussey.
That's right. We're going to be very anxious over the fate of those players in their first few innings of the summer. You think North bought himself a couple of tests of grace with his century at in the second test against India. Hussey, very streaky, but clearly there must be a chemistry dressing room issue that Ricky Ponting finds really important in having Hussey in the side, because on exposed form you'd be looking elsewhere. Maybe they just don't have faith that Khawaja or one of the players, or Phil Hughes or Michael Klinger from left field, as our James Dunn keeps pushing, are the guys who can step in and do it.
Yeah. There's also been debate about the suitability of Ricky Ponting as captain. A bit of a nonsense debate a month out from the Ashes. Malcolm Knox has written a column on Backpage Lead today saying historically Australia has always picked its best 11, and from that 11 it's usually been the best player that gets the captaincy gig. Never been the English model where kind of the best tactician is chosen from county cricket and a test team is built around that. Ponting clearly our number one batsman still and the right man to lead the country.
I think he's the right man to lead the country. Having said that, he'll be railroaded out of the job very quickly. If he doesn't retain the Ashes at home, having twice lost them in England, I think that certainly would give the selectors pause to say, okay, time to look elsewhere. I'm not sure Michael Clarke. Every time I think Michael Clarke's here, apparently he struggles to make runs, so I'm not sure that he's necessarily the right man for the job either, and then it really does fall away. So I'm not sure what they'll do if
never been allowed to lead Ashes defeats in a row. A very sombre week of Stathi Katsides, the well-performed jockey, the champion jockey really. Yesterday at his Queensland home, 3 days out from the Cox Plate, he was due to ride Shootout. Terribly sad, and there will be a pall over the meeting, Moonee Valley for sure. Didn't take long for Corey Browne to be given the job in the saddle, which I found, I won't say distasteful, but it was done with undue haste, I think. The meeting, Ash, I know you won't be there because you've got religious commitments, haven't you?
I do have. Yes, I've got family bar mitzvah, but apart from that, it is a great day. I will find cause to be sitting and watching the race at 20 to 6 or whenever they get round to running. But it is the race. For someone like me who's not really a punter or big racing fan, the Cox Plate, I know, is almost the match race, the championship race of racing, is one not to be missed. And interesting discussion, that is where Moonee Valley is the best long-term home for the Cox Plate. But the amphitheatre that is the Valley sets itself up so well for such a fantastic race.
And Bart chose not to race, so you think, at the big breakfast yesterday. He galloped it at
very sly.
Flemington, I think. He's clearly voting with his feet, doesn't like the fact that Moonee Valley is still existing in its own right, thinks it should be moved. Before
we finish, I've got a question for you. Did you demand your wedding present back from Greg Norman, from Chris Evett, given that marriage lasted all of 5 minutes?
Greg, what are you up to? Anyway, he's up to marriage number 3. We read a new idea this week.
We wish him all the best.
We wish him all the best. And can I have back my please? What did I get in last time?
Something
for his boat, wasn't it? The salad service. Very good. Ashley Browne, thanks for your summary of the week in sport, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
See you soon.